Hey, I'm Emerald, I do things no one cares about, and welcome to DBD Weekly News. This week we had some major important updates. Meet Your Make Your event is still going on, with a new green vial being added. It shows up every time 2 gens get completed in a match, allowing survivors and killers to grab it. Upon grabbing it, you will receive none other than a charm! Let's go, baby! They also announced that on April 4th, if you own Meet Your Maker and Dead by Daylight, you will receive unique cosmetics for both games. These will be available forever until one of the games dies. There are weapons cosmetics for Trapper, Wraith, and Huntress, with a full cosmetic skin for Meg. The bug fix patch from March 22nd, 2023 boils down to making Skull Merchant less gen defense, more chase, reverting the scream change to be infinite distance but 2D audio, and miscellaneous bug fixes. We also received skins for Michaela, Meg, Yoon, Vittorio, and Legion this week. I think they look pretty good, and if I played Legion more, I'd probably end up buying theirs as well. Dwight has a propeller cap you can earn by buying Oryx cells between March 22nd and April 25th. Behavior also issued a pretty thought out HR statement on the 22nd about the DDoS issues, with, and I quote, "We have thoroughly investigated these reports over the past week, and as of yet, there is no evidence we've seen to suggest any personal IP addresses have been leaked." While I'm not a fan of how they phrased it, I fully believe they framed it this way so they are not eligible to be sued. I would like to ask Behavior to hire an outside third-party security company with good reputation to look into the matter, as it's very obvious that a lot of content creators have been DDoSed. Now for the March 2023 developer update. Quick reminder, this is for the player test build on March 28th for Steam players. Keep in mind, all things are subject to change between the PTB and live release, with some mechanics never being added to the main game. The good and best example of this was the Morian slugging system a while back, which has yet to be heard of again. Blood Web is getting improved. You can now click on the outer items to form a buy chain to that item, buying everything along the way. You can now click a node to automatically purchase the Blood Web for you, as well as toggle a press to buy mechanic, which can be toggled in settings. My suggestion for players would be to toggle press to buy to be on, and click BP offerings than anything you actually want. After that, you can either do the automatic Blood Web, or buy whatever, whichever is faster. This should hopefully reduce the grind in the Blood Web to be non-existent. I would like it if Behavior would eventually add a prioritize option, where you can customize the auto spender to aim for specific items, add-ons, and offerings. This is, however, an excellent start to Blood Web improvements. The DBD mobile visual tear radius is making its way to the main game. This should hopefully help hard of hearing and deaf players play Survivor better. It is toggleable and works with colorblind settings. Hopefully Behavior lets us fully customize auras in the future. For those saying this might provide a competitive advantage, all I have to ask is, would you rather people play the game as intended, or gatekeep them from playing in the first place? Auto Haven is getting another map update. Main 2 focus points are Blood Lodge, where the main building is entering the middle of the map with some RNG changes, and Gas Heaven, where they are dividing the long car walls into smaller sections. The RNG changes will affect every Auto Haven map as well, not just these two. Personally, I think Blood Lodge needs a little more objects in the center for stealth killers, otherwise this should be pretty good to play on. Now for perhaps the most controversial change that will either make you love or hate this PTB. Healing by default will now take 24 seconds instead of 16. Medkits will no longer let you heal yourself, with each only having 24 changes without add-ons or letting you heal once. All medkits add-ons have been adjusted, but they did not list what they are just yet. We will find out on the PTB. The medkit nerf was long overdue. I think most players would agree with that. However, I think the healing by default being increased to 24 seconds without any mangled or hemorrhage changes should not go past the PTB. Hit and run is not the most thrilling thing in DBD. It is why killers such as Wraith and Sawako aren't well liked by the community when playing that way. I would advise decreasing the base kit healing to 20 seconds to see how well increasing healing actually works, while also nerfing mangled to not be as effective. Until then though, I suggest not adding the increase to healing into the main game. The perk changes for this mid-chapter include Gearhead, which will now activate for 30 seconds instead of just the next survivor, with the duration getting nerfed from 10 to 8 seconds. Overzealous now works when booting totems, and has had its value increased to 10% from 8%. Pain Resonance now has 4 tokens, and only works on the first time each survivor is hooked on a Scourge hook. Dead Hard requires a safe unhook like Deliverance to become available to use. You can use it multiple times until the killer hits the Dead Hard successfully. Then you have to re-earn it again. Colorblind has been lowered to 125% speed instead of 200%. Overcharge has been lowered to 130 instead of 200%. The starting regression has been buffed to 85% instead of 75%, while the skill check was nerfed to 4% instead of 5%. Colubrine and Overcharge still stack. Circle of Healing no longer allows survivors to heal themselves and shows auras of survivors inside the boon to everyone else. Okay, so starting off, I agree with every change on this list for the most part. From killers who rely too much on slowdown to win games, remember you are playing pubs with a soft cap MMR, not tourneys. You do not need as much slowdown to win as in those scenarios. To survivors not getting punished for grouping up when bringing in Circle of Healing. These changes, combined with the healing change, will now let killers spread out injuries and gain pressure for it once again, instead of having to rely on tunneling and camping, which is how I personally play the game, so I'm pretty excited for these. If anything, this has nerfed tunneling a bit due to how much pressure you get for spreading out injuries, but killers that do still tunnel and camp will receive a lot of pressure for it still. The Dead Hard change will also see more variety in exhaustion perks, but there will be two main ones from now on: Sprint Burst and Life, depending on the preference of that survivor. Now these perks can be more annoying depending on survivor's skill level, but for killers that use their power for most downs, you will hardly notice a difference. As for M1 gamers, you should be fine for the most part. We will have to wait until live release to fully see this. Some killer changes have come in as well, but I will only be covering 2 of them. Clown's Peaky Finger will now lower your bottle count from 3 instead of 2. And Billy. Oh, sweet Billy. If anyone watching has seen other videos, or just the community in general about Billy, you know we love him very, very much. Which is why I am hoping behavior does not go through with this change. Overheat will now be slower when revving, but increase faster while sprinting. This nerfs Drift Billy a bit, but will help newer players like Billy more from the get-go. One of the issues of Overheat is that it only punishes newer players when testing characters. And now that behavior has straight up said it won't affect you in any way possible, I don't understand why they don't just remove it. Billy's Doom Engravings add-ons and Death Engraving add-ons will also be nerfed. This makes the most fun version of Billy, Curve Billy, dead in the water around most loops. Progressive Lotus made a great TikTok explaining this, and I will only be showing the curve around the certain loop.
Add less movement speed than before and increase heat generation further. There's not a single person that plays Billy at even a remotely high level that doesn't run engravings. The reason people love Billy is because he has a lot of counter and he has an insta down. It creates fun mechanics, unlike a lot of the killers where you just lose. Between this and all the map reworks, which feel like a direct nerf to Billy because of all the shit in the way, looking at you, Mother's Dwelling, why do I even play this killer?
That makes a killer that almost no one wants to play anymore even worse.
A lot of curves like this are now made impossible due to this change, and I'll personally like if they upped Billy's base hit speed while nerfing the add-ons or not going through with this change entirely. I would love to not see Billy's pick rate drop below twins on Nightlight. Last gameplay change is that flashlights will no longer be able to have any specific buffs against killers. This includes Wraith Burns, Nurse Burns, Artist Crows, and Hag Traps. The biggest change is to Hag specifically, who now has a built-in remove effect for survivors to wipe away traps. We do not know the current length of this, however, but I think 7 seconds would be the best option, so Hag isn't completely gutted. I like the flashlight changes, even if a lot of players are saying it ruins flashlight's creativity. I think for those killers, it's nice to not have to play any differently from normal because survivors are bringing in a certain item. I've made 4 different Wraiths DC recently from using Flashbang on them while cloaked, which is unavoidable for him in most cases. Last change is coming for the tomes. Now whenever a new original survivor drops, the next tome will feature that character. Every other character will now be reduced to side stories. The exception is licensed chapters depending on the license holders. So Ghostface, Pig, and Bill, while they all got their original tomes, the other licensed characters have not yet. So we will have to wait and see what the future holds. I do not like this change. Part of it is because some characters have yet to receive tomes, main ones being Fung, Deathslinger, and Zarina. I like to see skins and lore for those characters, especially Fung's alcoholism that most people seem to overlook. I also think this is unfair due to Blight having multiple tomes already, while these characters have yet to receive 1. Now for some of the community news. As far as I'm aware, the only DBD related events this week are Whisperix and That One Guy D are hosting a Play for Pets DBD charity event to raise money for saving animal lives on 26 at 4 PM Eastern. And Ms. Billy hosted a Fuck Cancer event, which at the time of me writing this and recording this script, rose $1,010. All of the leaks for these people, as well as Progressive Lotus, who I mentioned before, will be linked below for you. In terms of leaks, it has mostly been skin releases. Huntress, Artist, Adam, Nia, Kate, and Ace are all receiving cosmetics. I believe Adam's will be similar to Dwight's in an Oryx Cell purchase. Talita and Hinado now have Twitch shirts for those lucky streamers, which should be coming sometime next mid-chapter. Otherwise, that's it. My business email, if you'd like to send me DBD news, as well as my Twitch, will be linked below. See y'all next week.